The master and mistress had a guest over for tea today, and from what I could gather, he was part of their family. He had such a different air about him compared to them, and one far more diverse than the guests that are usually present for entertainment. He had blonde hair, very similar to my master, though there was a slight redness to it, and he had such gentle green eyes, the same colour as my mistress's right eye. For quite some time, the three of them sat in awkward silence, Charlotte spreading butter on her muffin as she gave a concerned look at the young man, who seemed less than interested in his own very existence. The master made even less attempts to acknowledge this as well, looking away as he sipped his champagne. Suddenly, the young mistress finally let in a deep inhale, straightening herself out as she began.
Could you two at least pretend you do not absolutely hate each other?
The young man exclaimed.
What?
He nearly shot from his seat in surprise.
I don't hate him.
That's really not how it's coming off. If you're not going to be happy when you come here, then you shouldn't have come at all.
She kept her composure as she continued with her pastry.
But I was hoping you could at least put on a small charade. Have simple, polite conversation. I do it all the time with people I hate.
Wait a minute. Who do you socialize with that you hate?
Almost everyone I socialize with that is associated with him.
She gestured the knife at her father.
You wouldn't have guessed because I'm good at feigning politeness.
I can't help but notice that you...
The young man also had his directions turned towards the master.
Have neither confirmed nor denied that you hate me, your own son.
My master finally put down his glass and hissed.
I do not hate you, but you can be a pain in my ass. I'll give you that.
I'm the pain? And of all places in your lower backside, are you trying to find every way to insult me?
The Count was about to open his mouth again before Charlotte raised a hand in his direction and said,
Don't. No insulting each other or fighting, please.
Though he responded with,
Oh, you stopped me, but not him.
Don't act like a child. I'm not trying to take sides. You were the one who threw out cruel words after all.
This is my house, and I can talk to whoever I want, however I want.
Bernice rolled out the car up next to me, and she looked over and asked,
Who's the young man? I never see Miss Charlotte converse with the people that cock brings here.
I softly shrugged my shoulders as I answered, I believe he might be her big brother. The master's voice rang out.
Why did you bother coming back here, Jean-Paul? Clearly you do not want to be present, so why are you here?
The gentleman across from the Count did not hesitate to answer.
Because I care for my little sister and I want to make sure that she is all right.
Oh, says the one who packed up and left her behind. You didn't even start writing her until you could find happiness. You're selfish, Jean-Paul.
Don't talk to me about being selfish.
The mistress piped in again.
If this is how things are going to be, then maybe you should just leave, Jean-Paul.
The master added.
Ah, yes. Leave like you always do. Pack up with your tail between your legs like the cowardly child you are.
Stop antagonizing him, Varta. My main reason for telling him to leave is so you can stop abusing him like this.
You think I'm abusing him?
She huffed out a disappointed and frustrated sigh.
I thought when I saw you two together that it was a good sign that you two were doing better, or at least trying.
She shook her head.
I think I preferred the crushing silence over this.
I shot Bernice a rather concerned glance, and she just shrugged her shoulders and returned my look with discomfort. When I looked back over to the company, I saw the master down the rest of his glass, then do a snapping motion with his fingers at me, whilst gesturing for me to refill it.
Jean-Paul.
He began again, with a much different tone, as I did what was instructed.
How are you liking your new residence in London?
I retreated back to Bernice's side as she leaned towards me and whispered.
Needed something to help wash down the bitter taste of swallowing him pride, I guess.
I softly giggled as I bumped up against the beauty. The gentleman being called John Paul had responded to her paternal figure with an almost whine sound to his voice.
Is this all a shape to you? How can someone with one eye be so incredibly two-faced?
That was a good one.
I playfully nudged the maiden once again. I saw the Count tense up in anger and exchange looks with his daughter as he turned his attention back toward her and his son, almost as if to say, Do you see this? Charlotte, however, remained unyielding and gave a rather blank, yet telling expression that insisted he did not escalate. Somehow, the three of them managed to carry on for another hour or so without any more arguments, though it consisted of a plentiful amount of silence between the two men. However, they did have moments of respectfully jesting with the lady of the house, and almost just barely with each other. I feel as though I got to see a rare side of Miss Charlotte. It was not a common sight to see her in such a way. I often wonder if she acts completely different outside the manor than how she acts around and toward us maids. She's always been so gentle and kind to me.
May 4th, Thursday, 1893. For my dear Jean-Paul, I am sorry if I acted unseemly during tea. I felt so excited when you showed up at the cemetery and said that you would eventually call on us, but that feeling turned to disheartened when it seemed for you to be the most miserable person in the world. I know of the past, and I understand why it is hard to move on from it, but you did not need to come and confront it simply for my sake if it still haunts you. Why did you come to the graveyard on Mare's birthday? I could tell that you still seemed to hold a grudge, so why did you appear? Jean-Paul, I love you ever so dearly and do not ever want to risk losing you. If it is just going to hurt you, then there is absolutely no reason for you to be around Arvata. Please do take care of yourself. Maybe you and I could go out for a stroll together, perhaps bring along Teddy since he was so delighted to hear you are back. I still wonder how the two of you became close as friends as you did. Please do not ever hesitate to write or call on me. Fondest wishes, Charlotte von Dunkelheit.